Frank Hardy, the one-time Sergeant Hardy of Her Majesty's 57th Regiment, sat on the steps of the Royal Hotel, watching two men struggling through the mud of the square towards him. He was smoking a sweet three, a habit he picked up in Crimea, and he was almost out, with no chance of getting his hands on another packet. He could look for some up in Napier, when he was up there in his Royal Mail coach, but the turnaround time was brief, barely enough time to change the team, and ready the new pair for the return to Palmerston. Maybe he could persuade someone to bring some tobacco and papers over from Foxton, and he could start rolling his own. But he preferred the ready-mades. The roll-your-owns left nasty flakes stuck in his beard. It started to drizzle. He pulled off his blue forage cap, ran his fingers through his dark hair, and put his cap on more firmly. He was bored with his life. The same thing every day, with no action. Once he'd been a soldier, a diehard, fighting his way through the Crimea and India. Now he was trapped in a country that was becoming more like his tranquil English birthplace every day. And in Palmerston, population 800 people, mostly men, mostly Scandinavians, with a few stolid, unappealing women, and even those married. What he wouldn't do to see just one good-looking woman pass by on the street. He could see the two men approaching across the square better now, and he thought they might be Scandies. Yaya, the Maori called them, because of the way they spoke. He dropped the butt of his cigarette and ground it into the mud with the heel of his Hessian boot. As the men slogged nearer through the mud, staring at him now, he picked a flake of tobacco from his beard and wondered if they were coming to talk to him. Some business, perhaps. Life was exciting back in '66 when he first arrived in New Zealand. The Taranaki land wars were at their worst, and wild-eyed How fanatics threw themselves at the British troops, the colonists, and the loyal Maori tribes who fought beside them. His regiment had set up camp along the Tangahoe River near Patia. To the west, the massive white-capped mountain, with its perfect cone shape, soared above the trees. To the south, war chants and smoke from fires rose from How villages. He'd been longing for battle. It was what he lived for. But things had not gone well, and he'd cashiered out after Oto Utu and the pursuit that had followed. He looked around the square, a mud-covered 2-acre field passing for a town square. Why was he here, of all places? He could move, he supposed. Maybe Napier, some good land up there. He'd find himself a shepherd and a wife, if he could find the right woman. But the idea bored him before it was fully formed. There were no attractive, interesting women in the entire country, and he could never be a farmer, with or without the help of a shepherd. He'd die of boredom.